Okay, welcome back. All I can say about this one is nice. I mean, this is beautiful. When I can reach young people and turn them on to some truth, and they accept it in a proper manner, all I can say is nice. It's really nice. And this is it. First, a couple of young ladies, college ladies, come along, and we get, I hit them on global warming, because that's going to be my subject for this weekend, because it's obviously what the idiot candidates, Democratic candidates, are hitting on. We got to save the planet because global warming, blah, blah, blah. We're going to all die in 12 years, and you got to reduce your carbon footprint, and blah, blah, blah. So we get into that, and another group of youngsters come along, and they ask about the 9/11 poster I got up, and we get into discussion on that, and I turn them on to some things that obviously, the mainstream media is not going to tell them. So, and it's a good one. This was what can happen when, they actually listen. And it's one at a time like this out there for me. And then you take it. See, this is what you're supposed to do. See, I'm getting out there one at a time with them. And then you take it and you spread it around. So now, now it's multiplied. So I do it on the street, then I put it on YouTube, it gets multiplied. Then you take it and it gets multiplied. And then hopefully the person you give it to and you say share it, that gets multiplied. And my little spiel out there gets multiplied over and over again. And we can hopefully turn on other people to what the hell's going on. That's how it works. So that's what you do here. And other things you can do, of course, is you like it and you share, as I mentioned. Subscribe if you haven't. Subscribe again if you already have, because they keep on knocking them off. And someone notified the link wasn't working, so there's a new link for my shop. Please go get something. You can get these designs, the global warming one or the the 9/11 one, and you can go ahead and help spread this message that way also. So again, it's boom, boom. We got to keep on throwing as much as we can at this until the mud sticks. So that's how it works. I want to thank you all for stopping by. Remember, it is a spiritual battle we are fighting on a material plane. So let's give each other material we need to stay out there and stay in the fight and get over. So God bless you all, and let's get on the streets.
So you see my question, do you guys happen to believe in man-made global warming?
Yeah, I totally do believe in climate change.
Well, climate change exists, yeah, but climate's always changing.
Always, yeah.
But do you think man has a hand in that?
Yeah.
You do?
Probably we
really?
a lot of bad.
Like industrialization and everything. Like,
you think so?
I do, yeah.
Really?
I think so.
How does industrialization change the climate? How's that happen?
Well, like
over time.
No, I mean with CO2 emissions. Like
CO2 emissions?
Yeah, so we're emitting a lot of
CO2 emissions, really? Can I ask you a question then about that? Sure.
We're not scientists.
Well, I know, but these are just basic things that everybody should know. I mean, they do spew it out there about global warming and CO2, too much CO2 in the air. Okay. CO2 is an element of life.
Right, totally.
Plants breathe it in, and then they breathe out oxygen. So it's a reciprocal gas. It's recyclable. It goes away, right? Now, they say there's too much CO2 in the air, correct?
Right, sure.
Okay. How much CO2 is in the air? Well, they should tell us, right?
1, 2 grams, yeah.
They should tell us how much CO2 is in the air, correct? I mean, if they're saying there's too much of it, shouldn't they be giving us measurements?
maybe.
Well, like, think about, I mean, like, with deforestation, you're saying that the plants are...
Ecosystem.
No, like, the plants are, it's like a cycle. Like, the plants take in the CO2, give us oxygen and whatnot. So, like, when there's deforestation, we don't have as many plants, and there might be a little bit too much CO2.
Oh, yeah, and I'm going along with you. We do need to stop the deforestation.
Right.
Good, too. Right, but that's not the reason. That's not it either. If I may. Because I started the Institute for Environmental Alternatives with Professor Ron Cohn in 1971 when ecology, it used to be called ecology back then.
Ecology.
Yeah. First came out, so I lived with scientists for 3.5 years, and we studied all of this stuff.
Hey, let's go!
And we always wondered how the political groups are going to come along and use what we were finding out for their own agenda.
Okay.
So they picked on CO2 as the boogeyman. And the reason they did that is because they could go, it's the only thing they can prove that we produce. They could say, we produce that, so we're the bad guys.
Totally.
In the entire atmosphere, the total amount of CO2 is 0.04%. It's less than half of 1%. It's a trace element. And it's been that way for several hundred years. Matter of fact, it was 10 times the amount when the dinosaurs were around. And of course, we had plants that had leaves that the size of, great. Everything thrived because there was a lot of CO2. Actually, the more CO2, the more plants, the more food and everything else. So why do they pick on CO2? Again, because they can blame us. They can kill. Well, you got a carbon footprint. You got a carbon footprint. You're the problem. We got to reduce your CO2 footprint so you can't drive anymore. It's all about control.
I don't drive anymore.
Well, but it's all about control. It has really nothing to do with the environment at all.
Government.
Because, thank you. It really isn't having to do with the environment. Because the CO2 levels remain the same. Even with our industry, one volcano spews out more CO2 than mankind has produced since the beginning of time. So, I mean, we're like a flea fart on the back.
Buy one of those posters, Sarah.
We're like a flea fart on the back of a dog when it comes to how much CO2 we put into the air. I mean, it really is. So it really, truly is about control. It's not about, so when they say, oh, you got a carbon footprint, you got to reduce it, it's about putting this into little cubicles and saying, well, this is how much energy you can use. That's why they fly around in their jets.
No, I completely agree with you that it's not like an individual thing to blame, but they're like on a massive scale. We do need to, reduce our
reduce, recycle.
No, we need to reduce pollution, not CO2. Pollution.
Right,
sure. CO2 doesn't really. I mean, as I said, if the CO2 we put into the air is going to be.
Planned Parenthood one. I like that.
Hey, excuse me.
Yeah.
Could you please explain what
The 9/11.
9/11 was?
I'd be happy to.
Because there were 4 planes, right? They were hijacked.
Yeah, but there were only 2 planes in New York City, but 3 buildings went down.
Okay.
What was the third building?
The third building was called WTC-7, or the Solomon Building. It was the last building built in the World Trade Center complex. And from where we're standing, from the Twin Towers to the other side of the French Market from the Twin Towers. Now, it was 47 stories tall. It housed all 16 of our intelligence agencies and the mayor's emergency bunker. This thing was a fortress.
Okay.
I mean, you could shoot a howitzer in it from 2 blocks away, you wouldn't crack the window. It wasn't hit by a damn thing. And at 5:20 in the afternoon that day, it did this in 6 seconds. Straight to the ground in perfect controlled demolition. It wasn't even mentioned in the 9/11 report. No one's ever explained why it collapsed.
Okay, so it was very far from the Twin Towers.
Yes. I'll give you some information on it, and you can watch it collapse. You will see it come down. There's a group called Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth. There's over 3,000 architects and engineers that have studied the collapse of those buildings, that have put their names on a petition, their lives, their reputations, saying those buildings came down by controlled demolition.
Well, the Twin Towers, too.
Yes.
So what about the video of the plane going in?
Yeah, the planes are good. If you look at the architects that built that building, they explain that they built those buildings to be hit by several planes and still not come down, because they were built like a screen door with all the steel girders. Now, if you take a pencil and you poke a screen door, the whole door doesn't collapse. You just got a hole in the door. So when the plane flew into there, it wasn't going to make it collapse.
Is that certain though? Because the Titanic was supposed to be like unsinkable by engineers.
Again, you can look up, and here's the information. I actually met one of the originators of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth out here, and had a 20-minute interview with him. And I mean, he'd swear on his mother's grave that these buildings came down by controlled demolition. Now, there are other anomalies about it. Like, for instance, there are 118 firemen, right, that testified to explosives going off all around them that day in those buildings. Now, NIST, which is the Institute for Environmental, for Science and Technology, whose job it is to test for explosives. I mean, if a bridge were to collapse, it is just in their MO to test for explosives, to see if there were explosives. They did not do one single test for explosives in those buildings. Why? If 118 firemen testified to explosives going off all around, don't you think they ought to do some tests?
Interesting.
Why didn't they? There were 3 pools of molten metal that burned into these buildings for 2.5 months. Where'd that molten metal come from? No one's ever explained. Now, they did find nanothermite in the debris. Nanothermite is a high-grade military explosive, and it's soluble. You could put it in paint. Maintenance men could be painting on the walls. They wouldn't know they'd be painting explosive on the walls. So we're looking at a lot of anomalies here. Everything from, the dancing Israelis to there's so much about this. To the fact that cell phones back then, didn't work up in airplanes that were 30,000 feet up in the air. So these things, these lies that they told us that people just, I mean, look at the Pentagon. 80 cameras in the area where the plane is supposed to hit. Have we ever seen any pictures of a plane going into the Pentagon? And how does, when you talk about a plane, it's basically just a beer can. I mean, it's an aluminum tool, right? That's all it is. It's a hollow aluminum tool. The Pentagon had 8 18-inch thick steel-encrusted walls. That aluminum tube essentially went straight through, and then there was no damage to the wing where the wings were supposed to hit. And where's the plane? You don't see a fuselage. You don't see seats. You don't see wings. You don't see engines. Where's the plane? What happened? I mean, did that plane just fold up and go into a 16-foot hole?
Well, I mean, there was a missing plane, right? There's a plane that's missing. So
but the plane did not hit the Pentagon.
Okay, it went somewhere else.
It was, that was not a plane that hit the Pentagon. It might have been a cruise missile, but it was not a plane. I mean, for one, all right, if you look at the hole in the Pentagon...
I'm actually going to look this up.
It's 4... Oh, please do.
Yeah,
if you look at the hole in the Pentagon, it's 4 feet, starts 4 feet off the ground, right? Well, if you look at the jet, the engines on the wings hang 11 feet below the fuselage. And it's physically impossible to fly a 747 4 feet off the ground in a straight line that length of time. You can't do it. It's physically impossible. So the engines would have been scraping into the ground. The wings would have sheared off. They would have been laying on the outside of the Pentagon. And when that thing hit the Pentagon, it would have just collapsed like a beer can going into the side of a mountain. Where's the plane? Where's the, with 80 cameras around, where's the pictures?
I thought I remember seeing a video of the plane going in.
No, you didn't see it.
I actually don't
You saw a
plane.
flash. You saw a flash of something, but it wasn't a plane. There was no plane that went into that thing. There's a guy, it's a general called General Stubblebine. He's no longer with us. His job was, it's all through the time he was in the military, was to study explosives. What made that happen? You know, what made that explode? And he studied the Pentagon. He says whatever hit the Pentagon wasn't a plane. He says it's my job to study this thing. That wasn't a plane. So, you know, you can go on, I can go on and on about this. We completely lied about 9/11. Now, why would they do it? So what?
Pentagon says it all.
Oh, yeah.
There's no way a plane went there.
Yeah.
That was straight up a missile.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, I mean, so people go, well, why would they do this? Well, who benefited? Who benefited from 9/11?
The war machine.
Thank you. We were talking about a peace dividend back then. Ooh, well, we're a war economy. We always need an enemy. Always. So, you know, always go, okay, what's the perfect enemy? Terrorism, they're everywhere. Okay, we're going to fight them everywhere. So who benefited? It was the military-industrial complex and the national security state. Exploded. All the money went into there. All of a sudden, we got, you know, security cameras, and all of a sudden, we're under surveillance.
Well, you've definitely, I never thought to look at this. So you definitely sparked some questions.
Well, thank
My
you.
job.
Thank you.
That's my
Thank you.
job.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourselves. Pretty cool.
Oh, did you like that one? I like that one. I thought it was nice. Particularly like the guy comes along and and helped me out there a bit, saying, yeah, the Pentagon says it all. So yeah, that's how we do it, folks. That's how we do it. So remember to share it. Hit the bell button so you know I get a new video coming up, and then go to my shop and get one of my designs. And if you don't want to get something for your money, well, then just straight up put something in my PayPal account. So that's it. God bless you. See you next time on the streets.